What's up, everyone? Today is the 29th of November, 2025. My name is Derek, author and webmaster of Gematrinator.com, and in today's video, we're going to talk about the death of golf star Fuzzy Zoeller at the age of 74. Fuzzy was a two-time major champion, having won 19 overall PGA tournaments, so he enjoyed a pretty successful career. Yesterday, in my video on the Hong Kong Inferno, with the devastating apartment fire, I talked a little bit about Fuzzy Zoeller. A couple people in the chat threw out the fact that he passed away. So I figured it would be worth it to take a little dive into the numerology, because this story is actually a lot more interesting than one might think. Despite all of Zoeller's success during his career, his legacy was tarnished back in 1997. And in 1997, we had the Special Masters Tournament, which was won by Tiger Woods, his first major championship. And for those of you like me who were around in 1997, you may recall that Woods' rise to fame was quite astronomical, and he reached damn near Michael Jordan levels of fame very quickly. But it was at this tournament, on April 13th, when Fuzzy Zoeller made a racial joke about Tiger Woods. And ever since then, this is pretty much what he's been remembered for. Zoeller said it was something he deeply regretted and had affected him for the rest of his life. He probably wasn't trying to be racist, but definitely said something insensitive and kind of silly, especially even by 90s terms. And the joke he said was that, make sure next year that Tiger doesn't serve fried chicken or something. Making a joke about black people eating fried chicken. And he's like, got it? So that was enough to spoil what was otherwise a rather memorable legacy. So in this video, we're going to focus on the Masters Tournament, because Fuzzy Zoeller's first major championship was at the 1979 Masters Tournament, whereas his off-color joke was at the 97 Masters Tournament. What we'll also be looking at is how this is actually a riddle connected to fried chicken and Colonel Sanders. Now, back in 2023, at the Ryder Cup, after the European team clinched the win, this Scotsman, who was later dubbed Colonel Sanders, jumped in the pond. And I thought it was interesting that a guy who was nicknamed Colonel Sanders made an appearance at a recent golf tournament. We'll touch on this in a little bit, but it is connected. This happened just a week before Yale University turned 322, which we'll touch on at the end of this video. But indeed, we will see how this story is numerically connected to Colonel Sanders, whose famous fast food restaurant, KFC, he was the founder of. And Colonel Sanders has some of the most interesting numerology you'll come across from one of these old figures. Notice how he was born on 9990, like an upside down 666, 9990. And when he died, on December 16th of 1980, he was a span of 90 years and 99 days old. So again, at the end, we'll look at how the number 666 is also coded into this story about the death of Fuzzy Zoeller. For starters, we'll look at the numerology of the date that he died, which was this past Thanksgiving, November 27th. Notice how this date has primary numerology of 83, 11 plus 27 plus 20 plus 25. Using the Latin method of Gematria, the cipher that I believe is the most significant in this study, the word golf sums to 83. Fuzzy Zoeller's first major championship and the scene of his biggest controversy was at Augusta National Golf Club. which equals 83. And it was during the Masters tournament, which also equals 83 with the S exception. These 4 base methods, the most common in the study, the ones we'll be referring to the most. And remember, 83 is a number we commonly see in stories of death. The word murder equals 83 in reverse. Yale University, home to the Brotherhood of Death, both of which equal 83. The school was founded on the date leaving 83 days in the year. But before we get more to the Skull and Bones code at the end, I want to talk about the intriguing numerology of fried chicken and how this helps sculpt the numbers in this story. For starters, let's look at his full name, along with his nickname, which is very relevant in Gematria, Frank Urban Fuzzy Zeller Jr., using the standard ordinal cipher. His name sums to 331. Without his nickname, we also get 331 using capital letters. Capitals added maintains the alphabetic order, but adds 26 for every capital letter. So whether or not you include his nickname, you get the same 331. Well, the date of his death, November 27th, was the 331st day of the year. 331 is a prime number, the 67th prime number. This is only divisible by 1 and itself. Using reverse reduction, the phrase fried chicken equals 67. But this is the alignment that really told me that there was something deeper here. From the founding date of KFC, March 20th of 1930, notice how this was 95 years ago. Well, using Latin Gematria, Kentucky Fried Chicken equals 950. The phrase fried chicken on its own also equals 95. But not only is the restaurant 95 years old, it's also 252 days after his anniversary on November 27th. Well, if you were to use prime numbers, a cipher which maintains the alphabetic order again, but uses the associated prime relationships, fried chicken equals 252. Also, with capitals mixed, the name Fuzzy Zeller equals 252 reverse. Dead 252 days after the 95th anniversary of Kentucky Fried Chicken. The 252 also appears in the numerology of Colonel Sanders, whose September 9th birthday is the 252nd day of the year. And there appears to be a much deeper connection between these men. Notice how Fuzzy Zeller was born in New Albany, Indiana. Indiana, a state that has been of great focus in many decodes on this channel lately. Well, Colonel Sanders, even though it was Kentucky Fried Chicken he founded, he was also born in the state of Indiana. Now, when Colonel Sanders passed away, it was just 1 year after Fuzzy Zeller's first major championship at the Masters. So I figured, well, what's the numeric connection here to Tiger Woods? And check this out. Zeller won the Masters exactly 1 year and 35 weeks before the death of Colonel Sanders. In both ordinal and reverse, the name Tiger Woods equals 135. Ordinal and reverse. In fact, in standard English Gematria, which is similar to the Latin method but uses the current 26-letter alphabetic order, Tiger Woods also equals 1035. Furthermore, if you write out his full name, Eldrick Tant Woods, it's 1350 in Sumerian, a number also connected to KFC in another cipher. Well, look at how old Colonel Sanders would currently be. If he were still alive, which would be crazy, he would be 135 years old. Fuzzy died 79 days after the birthday of Harland David Sanders, whose name equals 79 in reduction. And don't forget, it was the 79 Masters tournament that Fuzzy Zoeller won. Worth noting that 79 is also a prime number, the 22nd prime number. The word golf equals 22. When you write out Tiger Woods' full name with his nickname, you get 121 in reverse reduction, which matches fried chicken with capital letters. This number 121 is a square number. When you multiply 11 times 11, it's 121. Well, it just so happens that Fuzzy Zoeller was born on November 11th, the date written 11/11. The day after Fuzzy Zoeller made his fried chicken joke about Tiger Woods, Woods turned 1111 weeks old. In fact, Fuzzy Zoeller's date of death, November 27th, falls 11 months and 11 days after the date of death for Colonel Sanders. And in reduction, KFC, his restaurant, summing to 11. When Colonel Sanders died, it was on a date with primary numerology of 127. This number was also found in the date of Zoeller's second and final major championship at the '84 U.S. Open. Well, with Augusta, Georgia, the scene of the Masters, being the focus of this decode, I thought it might be relevant to take another look back at Hulk Hogan, the famous pro wrestler who died earlier this year, because Hulk Hogan was born in the month of August in the city of Augusta, Georgia. And there's a strong link here because in the year 1953, when Hogan was born, the winner of the Masters in Augusta was Ben Hogan, who actually shattered the scoring record at the tournament that year. So I did videos about this and a couple posts talking about the numerology connecting Hulk Hogan to Ben Hogan. The day after Hulk Hogan died, the golf movie Happy Gilmore was released. And that film came out on the same date that Ben Hogan died back in 1997, which was the same year that Tiger Woods won the Masters, and the same year that Fuzzy Zoeller made his off-color joke. Including the end date, Fuzzy Zoeller died 127 days after Hulk Hogan. In reverse Gematria, both ordinal and standard, Fuzzy Zoeller equals 127 and 1270. $127 is the 31st prime number, which also syncs to Fuzzy, 31 and 310. The 31 also connects back to Tiger Woods, whose full name and last name sums to 31 or 301. And Sanders equals 310, so does Colonel Sanders. So for the next half of this video, I want to talk about the numbers 33, 666, and a little bit about the Skull and Bones code. Now, the number 33 is very significant. A lot of people recognize this as a Masonic number important to the occult, and I would very much agree. But one thing that very few people talk about is the fact that the number 33, when spelled out, has the same Latin value as ritual human sacrifice. And this code, of course, all goes back to the Bible, where Jesus, who has these same 3 digits in this cipher, was supposedly crucified at the age of 33. The word fried equals 33, which was Zeller's public career after his joke. Zeller, 33 in reverse reduction. Tiger Woods' full name is also 303 with capital letters. Well, Fuzzy Zeller was born 303 days before Colonel Sanders' birthday, which fell exactly 3 months and 3 weeks before Tiger Woods' birthday. November 27th, when Fuzzy passed away, was 33 days before Tiger Woods' birthday and 137 days before the date of his fried chicken joke. 137 is the 33rd prime number. And remember, this is all about the state of Indiana, where Sanders and Zeller are both from. In fact, Sanders' full name, Colonel Harland David Sanders, 1370. What also sticks out is that the number 33 matches Eldrick Taunt Woods, 1,515 in Gematria. When you spell the number 33 out, it sums to 156 in the alphabetic order. Frank Urban Zeller, his common name summing to 1560 in reverse Sumerian. Sumerian, of course, multiplies the alphabetic order by 6, the first perfect number, the number most closely associated with time. Colonel Sanders, 156 in ordinal as well. The number 33 also connects to the number 114. Now, this is a cipher I don't talk about very often. It's called the all exceptions cipher. But it seems worth mentioning because the word golf equals 114. So does the word fried. And when Fuzzy made his fried chicken joke, it was on a date with numerology of 114. Frank Urban Zeller equals 1140 in Latin Gematria. But if you look up the 114th prime number, also notice how this is the 83rd composite number. Fuzzy dead on a date with 83 numerology, as I pointed out. But the 114th prime number is 619. Fuzzy Zeller was born exactly 61 years and 9 weeks after Colonel Sanders. Now, as I mentioned early on at the top of the video, Sanders has this bizarre 666 connection, as he was born on 9/9/90 and then died at the age of 90 years and 99 days. Fuzzy Zeller's 2 major championships in the PGA were separated by exactly 669 weeks. And of course, the 9, an upside-down 6, hearkening back to the number of the beast. Beast equals 198, which is ideal for Colonel Sanders, who died in the year 1980. The number 666 sums to 2,083 in the same method, which is actually an important number in case you're not totally used to this code. This is the 314th prime number. Obviously important to the pi code, which is all about the mathematics of the circle, which is 666. Anyway, Fuzzy Zeller's second major championship in 1984 was 2,830 weeks after the founding of KFC and 283 days after Colonel Sanders' birthday. The guy I mentioned earlier, who was dubbed Colonel Sanders, jumping into the lake at the Ryder Cup a couple of years ago, his name was John Burleigh. And look at how John Burleigh equals 66 and 60 in the reduction methods, just like the number 33. 33 equals 66 and 60. 33 also has the same gematria as 666 and 666s. One more thing that stood out about this part of the post is that Zeller won the Masters exactly 612 lunar orbits after KFC was founded. And it was also 612 days before the death of Colonel Sanders. Consider how 12 is just the sum of 6 plus 6. So whenever I see 612, I often kind of equate it to the 666s. Now, if you thought we'd get through this video without talking about the Yale Skull and Bones code, you were sadly mistaken, because Brotherhood of Death, of course, equals 666. If you're wondering how Brotherhood of Death equals 666, simply look at the sum of the base 4 ciphers. I'm not the biggest user of this method, but when you add those 4 numbers together, they sum to 666. So Fuzzy Zeller dies shortly after his 74th birthday. 74, another number we commonly see in stories of death. And, you know, some might argue that 74 is pretty old. For someone with such a successful career, you know, it varies. Everyone's different, right? We all have different clocks, different biological clocks taken away. But you'd like to think that someone with enough wealth could stay alive a little longer. I don't know. I'm no doctor. But another important 74 I discuss often is Skull and Bones Society, as this is likely a very Masonic organization. So we see the 74 in reduction, but what about these values here, ordinal and reverse? Check this out. In ordinal, it sums to 245. Fuzzy Zeller is exactly 24 years and 50 days older than Tiger Woods. In reverse, we get the 295. Well, when Colonel Sanders died, Fuzzy Zeller was exactly 29 years and 5 weeks old. But not only does Skull and Bones Society equal 295, the Society's favorite numbers, 223 and 322, also equal 295. In the year 2023, Yale turned 322 years old. An alignment which transcends any chance of coincidence, as 322 is on the Skull and Bones emblem. Well, measuring from that special Skull and Bones anniversary to Fuzzy's death was exactly 2 years and 7 weeks. Notice how Eldrick Taunt Woods, Tiger's full name, equals 207 in ordinal. Even the nickname Fuzzy, 207 with capital letters. The word golf, for the record, also equals the 27th prime number in the special standard cipher. Don't forget how golf sums to 40 in the alphabetic ordinal cipher. 40 was the age of Ben Hogan when he won the Masters the same year Hulk Hogan was born. And you have to appreciate this because in numerology, the number 40 simply represents the number 4. And even the alternate spelling of 4 equals 44. And of course, 4 is the number that I yell the most when I play golf, as I care about the people around me, and I don't want them to die. The last name Woods has a lot of connections to Skull and Bones and the Brotherhood of Death. And I'm sure there's a lot more to this. Remember, Tiger Woods' father worked in military intelligence and essentially brainwashed his son to become the greatest golfer ever. If you have some time today, look up a clip. Well, you definitely have time today because you're watching me. But yeah, look up a clip of Tiger Woods swinging a golf club on TV when he was like 2 years old. The kid had a perfect swing. And he looked almost possessed when he was doing it. It was very creepy stuff. So, very likely a Manchurian athlete, scripted from birth to dominate the sport. And when you look at Tiger Woods' age for Fuzzy Zoeller's death, you get the same 4 digits as the founding year of the Skull and Bones Society, 1832. These same 4 digits are also found in the Gematria of the number 66. 66 also matches Skull and Bones in Gematria. 66 is also the product of 3 times 22. So it's clear to see how this is a major Skull and Bones number. It's also the first multiple of 33 and the Gematria of 33. Fuzzy Zoeller's full name sums to the 66th prime number in the reverse order, 317. And when Fuzzy Zoeller won the Masters, look at how old Tiger Woods was. 3 years, 107 days, which means he was also 3 months and 17 days after his birthday. There are a couple more alignments I put in my blog post. As always, these posts, as well as other related content, videos I've made in the past about golf, also linked in the description. And, you know, what this video in particular highlights is that, you know, you can argue whether it's the secret societies behind the scenes that are orchestrating this, or if it's just organic synchronicity. You know, I'm split on a lot of this, and with a story like this one, you know, I'm not really sure. Maybe it is organic, but there's a very strong possibility that someone looked at the numerical connections between Fuzzy Zoeller and Tiger Woods and noticed it was connected to Colonel Sanders. But again, why would they do that? It's so strange. But the numbers speak for themselves. You know, it's not like I had to work very hard to draw these connections between these characters. You just plug in the dates, run their gematria, and like clockwork, everything falls into place. At least for me. I mean, I've been doing this a long time. It's very simple for me to catch on to these patterns. But yeah, some of those the videos down below, again, we talk about the connection with Hulk Hogan and Ben Hogan. Hulk Hogan, a native of Augusta, Georgia. The Hulkster died on a date with 40 and 22 numerology this year, which, of course, connects to the sport of golf. And then the very next day, Happy Gilmore 2 comes out on the anniversary of Ben Hogan's death. Another fascinating thing that came out of all of that is that former UFC fighter Ben Askren appeared right around the same time as Hogan's death as Skin and Bones. And I did a deep dive into how this was all connected to the skull and bones riddle. Ben Askren has a wealth of numbers connected to this code. I actually went to high school with Ben Askren. I was born 322 days after him, which kind of creeps me out because my life is apparently all by this code as well. And, my theory is that it's, this has nothing to do with, or a lot of this has nothing to do with people orchestrating things by these numbers. It's just that these are the most significant numbers in nature. And thus, they stamp themselves with those numbers. And then they laugh when people say that the Illuminati is orchestrating everything. But yeah, this guy's name is Ben, right? Just like Ben Hogan. And Ben Askren was born on the 18th of July. Brotherhood of Death equals 187. Like 18 of July. He was also born right around the same time that Fuzzy Zeller won his second championship, exactly a month later. But the real riddle here is that on Ben Askren's 40th birthday, right? Think about how golf equals 40. On Askren's 40th birthday, Hulk Hogan spoke at the Republican National Convention. And that convention was in the city of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And Wisconsin is where Ben Askren is from, just like myself. Born in Cedar Rapids, but attended high school in my hometown, Heartland, Wisconsin. So yeah, check that video out if you haven't already. It's linked down in the description below. Focuses on Happy Gilmore, Ben Hogan. I also have an entirely separate video on the death of Hulk Hogan. And he died on July 24th. And remember how he always said brother during his interviews? The Brotherhood of Death 7/24. Like the date he died. It's just fascinating stuff what we're seeing playing out. Whatever you believe about it, the fact that all of these alignments and quote-unquote coincidences continue to happen day after day should be enough to clue you into the fact that our reality is far more than random chance. The fact that the manifestations in reality are connected to the numbers of the language we speak, if that doesn't trip you out and make you question the nature of reality and consciousness itself, then I don't know what to do. That's why I sit here and just hammer the numbers out, because eventually it should get through the consciousness that this is all the work of a holographic realm that we inhabit. One that our souls temporarily visit, part of a quest for a larger, much, much more important conclusion to any of the silly, foolish things happening here on Earth that divide us. So I'm going to cut it there, guys. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. If you made it this far and like the work, do feel free to like, share, subscribe. Also, I have a Rumble page if you want to subscribe to that as a backup, just in case anything happens on YouTube. I don't think so. I don't think it will. I've been behaving pretty well. I wouldn't call my content controversial. Unless you think suggesting that numbers are important is controversial, then by all means. Anyway, once again, more links in the description. Charts, posts, videos, good stuff like that. Peace, love, God bless. We'll talk to you next time. See ya.